Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc, and Sergio Perez contended fiercely for victory in Azerbaijan, determined to push through until the McLaren driver emerged as the victor. However, just prior to the race's conclusion, a significant crash occurred, leaving several drivers extremely frustrated. Although Leclerc initially performed well, the pit stops shifted the advantage to Piastri, who swiftly closed in on the Ferrari, seizing the lead. He then fiercely defended his position to secure the win. The race concluded under a virtual safety car following a late collision between Perez and Carlos Sainz. We will delve into that incident since both drivers exited their cars visibly upset with one another, alongside their third summons from the stewards. As the final 4 laps began, Leclerc's rear tires ultimately gave way, forcing him into a frantic defense of second place against Sergio Perez's Red Bull, with Carlos Sainz's Ferrari also entering the fray. Perez felt particularly confident in the upgraded Red Bull this weekend, on a track where he usually excels due to the car's need for an understeer balance. Throughout the second stint, he maintained a comfortable 2-second gap from the Piastri-Leclerc battle. When Leclerc's tires finally failed, Perez shifted into attack mode, attempting to pass the Ferrari on the outside into turn 1 on the penultimate lap. This allowed Sainz to surge past Perez for third place as they approached turn 2. The two then collided as Perez attempted to slip underneath the Ferrari on the way to turn 3. It was not immediately clear who was at fault, but Perez was visibly annoyed with Sainz, and the collision sent both vehicles crashing into the barriers lining the track, prompting the race to finish under the virtual safety car. Following a series of incidents, George Russell's Mercedes claimed the final podium position. He began the race near the back of the leading group after being overtaken by Max Verstappen's Red Bull on the opening lap. However, Russell found his rhythm on the hard tires, managing to retake Verstappen and comfortably fend off a late charge from Lando Norris's second McLaren. Despite starting from a low grid position due to a yellow flag incident in Q1 on Saturday, Norris made an impressive recovery to finish 4th from 15th place. He utilized an alternate strategy, beginning on the hard tires and concluding the race on mediums. Additionally, he aided Piastri during the pit stops by delaying Perez's Red Bull to prevent Piastri from being undercut, which is ironic considering McLaren's new team order policy that would usually favor Norris. After a rough patch in his form, Perez returned to his best on the streets of Baku, closely following Leclerc's battle with race winner Oscar Piastri during the latter half of the Grand Prix. Thus, he exited his car in disbelief and fury. Sainz, on the other hand, took a more measured approach, pondering the incident as the two climbed out of their wrecked vehicles with the virtual safety car deployed for the rest of the race. Unfortunately for both drivers, there might be further consequences as the shocking late race collision is currently under scrutiny by FIA stewards in Azerbaijan. Sergio Perez of Red Bull and Ferrari's Carlos Sainz collided on the last lap of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix while competing for podium positions alongside Ferrari's Charles Leclerc. As they prepared for a drag race down the long straight towards turn 3, they made contact, with Perez's right front wheel grazing the left rear corner of Sainz's Ferrari. This contact sent both cars crashing heavily into the concrete barriers, with a furious Perez taking to the team radio to exclaim, "What the heck did he do, man? Is he insane or what? Effing idiot." Sainz, puzzled by the collision, responded, "What happened there? What happened? I'm fine, but I don't understand it." After the race, the drivers remained divided on the incident. Sainz stated, "I hit straight into the concrete wall. I'm glad we're both okay. I was going quite fast behind Charles and Checo. I had saved tires and knew I could overtake them easily. I got past Checo while he was battling Charles, and then I think we exited turn 2 closely. I just followed my normal racing line, without any unusual maneuvers. For some reason I still can't grasp we collided, but yeah, I think he had ample space on the left. I didn't make any erratic moves, but I suppose that's racing. Sometimes you go 48 laps without an issue, and then in the last 2 or 3 laps, incidents like this occur." He continued, "I maintain my usual racing line, the one we all adhere to every lap of this circuit. At the start of turn 2, we always veer slightly to the left, but without making any erratic or strange maneuvers. Charles in front of me also veers left. I naturally follow his slipstream. And I don't know." Checo decided not to yield any space, but it's too soon to make a call. Red Bull's team principal, Christian Horner, remarked, It was unfortunate for Checo, who drove brilliantly but lost significant time with Lando Norris holding him back. I believe he could have won the race. He was able to challenge Charles Leclerc, caught up to him, and then the accident with Carlos Sainz occurred. Horner added, "I watched the replay, and if you observe the wall, which serves as a reference on the right, Carlos moved towards Checo, which ended his race. This is quite costly for us, both in terms of Checo's car damage and for the Constructors' Championship." The two drivers have now been summoned to the stewards to share their viewpoints on the incident. This marks the third time they have been called to the stewards together, following two separate blocking incidents on Friday and Saturday. The collision concluded a disappointing comeback race for Perez, who had been poised for his first podium finish since the Chinese Grand Prix after leading the Red Bull effort throughout the weekend. In addition, several virtual safety car violations will be reviewed, with Max Verstappen among the drivers scrutinized, and McLaren will also be investigated for a pit lane infringement, the specifics of which are still unclear. Alongside the Sainz-Perez incident, stewards will also examine Verstappen's alleged virtual safety car infraction. A 5-second penalty would maintain him in 5th place, while a 10-second penalty would drop him to 6th. With Norris in 4th and Verstappen in 5th, the McLaren driver slightly closed the gap. Nonetheless, Verstappen retains a commanding 59-point lead in the standings. Meanwhile, Piastri has established a significant gap over Sainz, who received no points as a result of the Perez crash. However, Verstappen, Sainz, and Perez aren't the only ones needing to meet with the stewards, as the McLaren team is also required to provide explanations. Following the Grand Prix, race control promptly announced that McLaren would face an investigation for a pit lane violation. A steward's document confirmed an alleged breach of Article 34.13 of the FIA Formula One sporting regulations concerning team personnel and equipment in the pit lane during the race. This article states that team personnel are only permitted in the pit lane right before they need to work on a car and must vacate as soon as the work is completed. Any team personnel performing work on a car in the pit lane during a qualifying session, sprint shootout, sprint session, or race pit stop must wear helmets that comply with the standards set by EC 22.05, European Motorcycle Road Helmet, USA Motorcycle Road Helmet, or GIST 8133 2015 Class 2 JPN protective helmets for automobile users. The use of suitable eye protection is mandatory. While it's unlikely this will lead to time penalties for any of the drivers, a team reprimand and monetary penalties are almost certainly forthcoming. What are your opinions on the late collision? Is Perez or Sainz truly at fault? Or were they both merely following their racing lines, colliding due to bad luck at the end? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Ultimately, Oscar Piastri of McLaren celebrated his second career Formula One victory in Azerbaijan, overtaking and then holding off pole sitter Charles Leclerc. With 222 points compared to Leclerc's 235, Piastri's and his teammate Norris's results, combined with Perez's crash, also mean that McLaren takes the lead in the Constructors' Championship for the first time this season, with 476 points against Red Bull's 456. George Russell of Mercedes completed the podium following the dramatic late race incident between Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz. One of the most unexpected developments was Norris's recovery after a disappointing Saturday. Starting 15th on hard tires, he successfully held off Verstappen for 4th place, who was still grappling with rear-end bouncing. After finally pitting on lap 38, Norris overcame a 15-second deficit to surpass Verstappen for 4th. Remember, Verstappen began in 6th, finishing 5th, while Norris started 15th and ended up 4th. Verstappen faces serious challenges if he hopes to win the championship. We can anticipate more exciting action on the track next week and in the remaining 6 races. The title race remains wide open, with Leclerc and Piastri trailing Norris by just 19 and 32 points, respectively. What are your thoughts? Will Verstappen manage to maintain his lead, or could Norris come out on top? Perhaps even more surprisingly, Leclerc or Piastri, both of whom have shown substantial improvement in recent weeks. Share your opinions in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for daily Formula One updates.